Okay, so here we have my my espresso maker, Nuova Simonelli Oscar, mostly disassembled, or at least the water side. So there's the boiler, and I have taken off the old pressure stat, which I think was the main problem that was causing you know, the over pressurizing. And I've purchased the new updated modern pressure stat that I'm going to put on, and then along with that I took off the old connection so that I can put on a new one that has an overpressure valve. Actually, I think this is a vacuum. I take that back. This is the vacuum valve that allows this machine. In the past, when I have started it up, I've had to release vacuum from the milk frother in order for it to start sucking up water. And apparently, this valve inside here will now make that unnecessary. And then I'm going to, it's a lot of stuff. I've never done any of this before. Let's see what else. I'm going to install the overpressure valve on the cold side of the water, on the cold side of the boiler, which will then, if I remember right, keep the pressure down to 10 bar, and then when it reaches 10 bar, it'll relieve that into the cold side. And again, like I said, I haven't done any of this before. I'm in way over my head. There's the heating unit. That was, I pulled this all apart. I could have just put these kits on without pulling this whole thing apart, but I was kind of concerned since this was a used unit. I wasn't sure what was inside the boiler and whether or not this was all scaled, so I decided to pull it all apart so I could see what was inside of there and make sure that, you know, as long as I'm playing with it, that I clean everything up. I'm going to pull the whole group head apart and see, you know, what that looks like too. As long as I've got this thing torn apart, I'm just going to take the whole thing apart and see what else I can, you know, clean up and just make sure it's all clean, and then put it back together, and hopefully, you know, I don't have a whole bunch of extra parts, and hopefully it works when I put it back together. One thing I'll make a note of that you really have to be careful of is when you go tweaking on these fittings here, it's very easy to bend the boiler, and you can see where I kind of bent it a little bit there, and I sort of bent it back, and as I put it back into the machine, I might have to do that some more, and hopefully I won't crack it, and hopefully I haven't weakened it. That would be not good. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to go look at Home Depot and Ace and see if they have some of this kind of material here so that I can replace this wrapping. If they don't, then I'll just leave this wrapping on, but it'd be nice to replace it. And then if I can replace it, then I might go ahead and pull these fixtures back off and place this whole thing in a water bath, in a like a descaling bath. But I didn't want to do it unless I could replace this because it's all stuck to it and it's kind of fragile. Pulled the whole group head apart, cleaned it all up, although I was not able to completely disassemble the switch, the valve here, and so I went ahead and pulled everything off of it, and all the piping and everything that I had already put back on, because I decided to fully descale it and clean it, and I took off the old wrapping, which was just disintegrating. And I looked around. I went to Home Depot, I went to Ace Hardware, I went to Lowe's, and nobody had anything like that. Insulated foam. I was just really shocked. So what I got, for now at least, is this is a silicone kitchen mitt. and it says that it's rated to 450 degrees, so I'm going to trust that. And then I just cut it in half, and I'm going to use it. I've actually got two of them, and I'll wrap one, you know, sort of around one way and the other to cover the gap over the top. And I forgot to get pipe clamps, or you know, like cinch clamps, and so I'll just use some wire and duct tape to hold it together till I get that, and we'll see how that works. I actually think it's going to work pretty well. So now that it's mostly put together, I've got the new pump in there. I have put the new pressure stat, the pressure stat Sarai, I guess you pronounce it. I've got the vacuum release for the boiler. That basically, when the boiler gets cool, it creates a vacuum in there, and it makes it so that the pump won't pump it. The pressure gauges don't measure correctly, and you get incorrect pressure, I guess. So this valve just releases the vacuum, and then I put on the overpressure control, which is underneath. I can't show it right now because the thing's full of water and I'd have to turn it over, but it's basically another valve, and you replace this pipe here, this tube that comes with the kit, and it connects into a valve and then goes into your pump, and it controls the pressure. I believe it reduces the pressure at the group head, and keeps it. You can set it, and it's preset at 10 bar, I believe. What else did I do to this thing? I cleaned everything. The only thing I didn't clean was this underneath this switch here. There's a valve, a three-way valve, that I did not get taken apart, and we'll see if the coffee tastes funny, or I get, like, I'm going to do some back flushes and see what comes out of it, and if it's really gnarly, then I'll have to take that apart and clean it. It just didn't want to come apart, and I was afraid of hurting it. I did hurt my steam wand. I bent it a little bit, and I kind of chewed up the tip a bit right at the end here so that I could put this pressure gauge on. I was really surprised at how easily that bent and how I scored that up. I even tried to wrap it with something before I put the pliers on it, and I still scored it up. But I think that's just cosmetic, so I think it's going to be fine, and if it really bothers me, I can buy a new steam wand and attach it. What else did I do here? I think that's about it. So I'm just about to run a pressure test. So I've got the thing heated up, and what we want here when I turn on the steam is somewhere between 0.8 and 1.5 bar and this is the pressure in the boiler itself. So turn that on, and sure enough, it comes right in the middle there. So that's really good. And then what I'll do is I put the pressure gauge on one of the baskets here, and we'll hook that up, and we'll see what kind of bar we get. It should be like about 10 is what we want. Otherwise I'll have to calibrate it or readjust it. look at that. It stopped right at 10. It's pushing to 11 or 10 and a half, I guess that is. But it's sticking right around in a good zone, I think. I don't think I need to adjust that. And then this is that switch that I'm just about to, when you stop the pressure, that's that switch that I didn't get to clean. And it certainly seemed to work fine. Drop the pressure right away. We'll see what kind of gunk is in the basket when I pull this off. And well, that looks really clean, so I guess I don't need to clean that that switch. So the pressure's all good, and looks like everything's working. It's now just put that tip back on and put it back together and see what kind of coffee I can get out of it. So here's the moment of truth. The other thing I got was what do you call it, a naked portafilter, so I can see what I'm doing, so we'll just see what this looks like. I'm actually very new to making espresso, so I have no idea if my coffee or my grind or my tamping and all of that is any good. But this is mostly just to see what the machine does. Well, that actually looks really good right now to me. Stop it there, I forgot to count. Oh yeah, that was too long a pull probably, but that looked really nice coming out of there. It's a little bitter, but hey, it looks like the machine's working great. So I've been tweaking on these pressure stats. There's the main pressure stat, and then there's an overpressure control, and they're situated on different parts of the system. The overpressure control is near the intake, so it's cold water going into the system, and then the main pressure stat is connected directly to the boiler itself. So I'm a little unclear as to exactly how to get the, how things, what adjusts what and how to get what I want. But I think I've gotten pretty close here. So this dial is connected to the steam wand, which goes directly to the boiler. And so that's telling us what the pressure in the boiler is. And right now it's 1.1 bar, pushing towards 1.2, and then the other one is connected to the group head, and it's going to tell us what the pressure is when I start the pump or start the draw process. So I'll go ahead and do that. See a little push on the boiler. It's going up to 1.2, trying to get towards 1.3, and now the other one picks up and it jumps straight up to 9.5, almost touches 10, push past 10. And every time I do this, wow, we're clear up at 11, now we're up to 12, what the hell? That's way up. That's too high. And I don't know why it did that, because just a minute ago I had it, it topped out at about 9.5. So I'm clearly having problems adjusting this. Wow, that was surprising. So I checked it again, and it was rock solid right where I wanted it, 9.5. And so here we go, I'm going to check it again. There it is. It's like rock solid. Well, 10. It's pushing 10 again. But it's looking good. It's not going past. Staying right where I want it. Let's try again. Well, now that looks really good, looks really solid. So I don't know, maybe that one reading was just anomalous for some reason. So I'm going to stick with that, and of course I'm open to feedback.